The crested gecko, an absolutely amazing species of geckos, being one of the most popular pets that you can own in the reptile hobby. These guys are amazing in so many different ways. However, it's definitely important to know how to properly set one up before you enjoy your journey of owning the crested gecko. It's a good thing that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today, how to set up the perfect crested gecko enclosure, going into topics such as the size of the enclosure, what kind of enclosure to use, the substrate options, the hardscaping to make sure your gecko has everything it needs, and then lastly, everything else to make sure that your gecko is thriving in its new home. With all that being said, let's dive into topic number one, the size of the enclosure. When it comes to what size you need for your crested gecko, that's going to be dependent on one big variable, the size of the animal. I guess the age too, but the size is going to be more relevant. This is why we'll be splitting this up into three subcategories, that being the baby enclosure, the subadult size, and lastly, that final home for your adult crested gecko, like Cookie right here. Number one, the baby size. This is going to be about a 3-gram baby, 3 to 5 grams, usually when you first list an animal for sale and then you take it home to have it as a pet. That size, I'm going to be recommending a small enclosure. I know a lot of people are going to be like, Dakota, why don't you just throw the baby in the 18 by 24 and call it a day? Well, the issue becomes that can stress the animal out. It's going to be harder for the animal to find food. You're going to have to pack that enclosure very, very tightly in order for the animal to feel safe and secure. It's going to be very hard for you to actually find the animal. Just a lot of cons go into it. I see a lot of people that come to me and they're like, oh, Dakota, my baby gecko isn't eating. What do I do? And the first question I always ask is it in too big of an enclosure? So with that being said, that you're going to want to start small. Something like the 8x8x12 that I use for a lot of my baby grow outs and stuff like that. This can be found in some of these PVC enclosures, or a cheap alternative would be something like a 6-quart shoebox bin. What you guys are thinking, Dakota, a shoebox bin? I'm not putting my gecko in a bin. I just spent $1 billion on it. Unless it's 2025 and the market crashes, and you probably spent like $2 and an Arby's coupon. Now here's the thing, yeah, the shoebox bin, it's not pretty. I ain't gonna sugarcoat it, it's ugly. Look at all that. Look at all these beautiful enclosures right here, and then that. Ugly. However, the shoebox bin, it does the job, man. Perfect environment for your animal to have all the humidity it needs. It's a small enclosed space that's going to make the gecko feel safe, and here's the biggest thing that you guys have to remember. It's temporary. Gecko's gonna outgrow that thing. It's gonna outgrow that thing fairly soon. So, I mean, you can go ahead and spend, the 60, 50, 75 bucks on the smaller enclosure, but at the end of the day, in about 6 to 12 months, depending on how your animal grows, that thing's gonna be outgrown very quickly. Now you spent $120 on a beautiful 8x8x12, and guess what? Your gecko outgrew it. What's next? Well, the next size is going to be that juvenile to subadult size. When it starts getting some weight on it, ain't this chunky little monkey like Cookie right here, but it's getting big. Size, I'm gonna recommend something like these right here, the 12x12x18. This is absolutely perfect for a gecko that is gonna grow out until it reaches that full adult size. I know technically, depending on what care guide you read, the standard minimum is going to be the 12x18. And while, yeah, you can put a gecko in there, I mean, let's do a side-by-side. You like the plants? You could put a gecko in there. It could live out the rest of its life in there. But over here at Dakota Blue Exotics, we don't just do the minimum. We used to until I discovered plants. Now I like big bioactive vivariums. So that's just something I'm personally not going to recommend. Dakota, if you think the 12x18 is too small, then what enclosure do you recommend? Well, boys and girls, that's going to bring us to right over here. The 4x2x4. Look at all that space the crested gecko can have. It's a mansion for it. If you're not using a 4x2x4, you are neglecting your animal. I'm just messing around. These bad boys right here, the 18x24. It gives the gecko enough room to move around, roam around, but it's not going to be a ridiculous size like the 4x2x4. If you guys do want to up the ante and you want to give more for your gecko, if I turn this right here, you can check out some of these, like the 2x2x2s that I have over here. I've even seen people utilize a 2-foot-by-2-foot-by-4-foot, so just like this, but double. To work great. I think it's perfect if that's what you want to do for your adult gecko. All the power to you. Build it an absolute mansion. But when it comes to the minimum enclosure size that I personally recommend, it's going to be the 18x24. Now that we know the correct size that we need depending on the age of our crested gecko and how big it is, we can move on to the next topic, and that's going to be number 2, what kind of enclosure to get for your crested gecko. Definitely no wrong answers. I know No, there's only a couple wrong answers. There's a lot of different enclosures you can put in a crested gecko, but that doesn't mean you should put it in all of the enclosures. And let's talk about it. One, of course, as we mentioned, you know, 8 by 12, 12 by 18, 18 by 24. This is going to be an arboreal animal. As you can tell from the way it sticks on me, watch this. Incredible. This is a climbing crested gecko, or a climbing gecko species in general, which means they are going to want an arboreal thing. So any of those 20-gallon longs boys you see, that's not going to cut it for the animal. They're going to want enough space to be able to climb around, jump, and lick you. Look at this. Olympic athlete. Tikis, you should give this guy the gold gecko, give him an award. Arboreal, what am I talking about? Well, of course, the different types are going to be the 20-gallon longs versus the 20-gallon highs. And as a 20-gallon for a minimum, I actually probably think the 29-gallon, I think these are about 33 gallons, 18 by 24. So a 29-gallon aquarium would be that sufficient. You could go with stuff like the top screen aquariums. I hate them. I don't have... I have one animal in them right now, and that's just because I haven't bought a new one for that one. But I hate aquariums. They suck. Humidity just saps out of them. All in all, not a good pick, but if you're in a pinch, use them. We have some glass front openings. These are gonna be brands like Zoom Ed or Exoterra. Absolutely fantastic. Love the Exoterra family and their brand. Exoterra, why don't you sponsor me again sometime? Absolutely awesome. All jokes aside, I actually prefer the double doors for some of these flightier species. Now, crested geckos aren't flighty, but it's just something of a personal preference. It's easier to clean the glass because you can split it open and then get on that. All in all, I like the Exoterras for that. I have some dubias as well that are front opening. They're very cool. The last one I would recommend are going to be PVCs, like I just said. The Dubia one is very nice. Zen Habitats makes some good, these aren't Zen Habitats, makes some good ones, things like that. The thing I don't recommend are going to be screen, for the same reason that we talk about aquariums, because of that top screen and you not being able to cover it, because then the animal gets no airflow whatsoever. The issue then becomes with screen, well, it's like that, but all of it. It's all screen. It's gonna be sapped out of there, and unless you're living in like Florida or something where the humidity is high, humidity isn't hot, then you're not gonna have an issue. But for literally everyone else in the world, I recommend skipping the screen enclosure. If your home has the humidity that a crested gecko needs, then I would definitely check for mold. Great options to go with, but just skip some of those ones that I mentioned. Where are you going? Alrighty, now we know what size to do, what enclosure to pick, but we still have a few problems. That's going to be, what do I put in there? It's just a bare bones, so I throw the gecko in, and then I'm good to go? Well, no, sir, of course not, but not to worry. We're gonna get that started with the rest of these, starting with number 3, what substrate to use. Now, we kind of brushed up on this. The fact is, yes, they are a climbing gecko, and also they need humidity, so this is going to mean that you're going to want what? What is it? Is it A, charcoal, B, industrial grade concrete, or C, tropical substrate? Why don't you leave a comment down there below? I'll wait. Industrial you picked B? Jesus Christ, man, you really needed this video. Animals are going to need a tropical substrate. This can be found in a multitude of different ways, either some cocoa fiber, sphagnum mosses, and then there are some guys that actually make tropical mixes. One of them is actually, let's be honest with ourselves, boys and girls, the bare enclosure with some cocoa fiber and cork bark in it just isn't cutting it anymore. About time you did an upgrade for both your animal and yourself. Of course, you know I'm talking about bioactive vivariums. Instead of those boring looking enclosures, you have beautiful planted vivariums for your animal. Happy to announce we just did a huge restock on both of our plants and our isopods. We have a ton of different species. We have a ton of different species of isopods and then a bunch of plants as well, both in the 2-inch and 4-inch variety. This means if you have an enclosure for something like a morning gecko or small species a day, or a larger enclosure, we have you covered. If you want to take the plunge into creating bioactive vivariums, check us out at dbprojectjungle.com, where we have everything you need for a bioactive vivarium. I think I've taken enough of your time. I'm gonna go before this bird starts dancing even more on me. Let's get back into the video. Tropical mix is going to help you be able to retain that humidity in your enclosure. Unlike things like sand or Unlike things like sand that is not going to retain any humidity, stuff like these mixes are going to be able to hold in that moisture more, release it a little bit more slowly, and give you a little bit more of a consistent humidity inside an enclosure where a gecko needs it. So that was a smooth mid-ad. There's a bunch of stuff you can use. Cocoa fiber is a good one. There's the wood chips, cocoa bark, or it's husk or something. I use my mix, man. I'm a bioactive e-commerce store. I use my own mixes. I'm not sure what the other people use, but buy my Substrate. Jesus Christ. Seamless self-plugs going out the window as well. Let's move on. Now that we have the bottom of the substrate good and we are ready to go, we can get into the next phase, which is going to be number 4, the hardscapes for your Crested Gecko enclosure. Of course, as climbing experts as the Crested Gecko is, and since the fact is we bought a tall enclosure for it, we are going to want to put stuff that the gecko can climb on. There's going to be any type of hardscape that's going to go both vertically and horizontally. But what kind of hardscapes do we use, Dakota? Cork bark is a great thing. Bark doesn't mold. It comes in a bunch of different funky shapes and patterns. You can break it off fairly easily to get the shape that you want out of the enclosure. If it's a little too big, just chop a little bit off and you're good to go. Over here, I do a lot of foraging over in my local conservation area, so anything that doesn't have any pesticides in it and isn't close to any traffic, so you're not getting any of that pollution from gas, things like that, those can be perfectly fine to put inside. If you want to bake it, you can bake it. I've been doing this for over a decade now, and I've never baked a wood, and I've never had a problem. But if you want to bake it, more power to you. Throw that bitch in the oven, I guess. Then, of course... Ow! Did you just bite me? Cookie, the incredible handable gecko, bites Dakota? Say it ain't so. And of course, you're going to want an area where the animal is going to be able to feel secure. I guess Cookie isn't feeling very secure right now due to the fact that she took a chomp. There's going to be stuff like plants. While yes, the pet stores show a bunch of little fake plants, even got a funky little marijuana one. Haha, very cute, very classy, not white trash at all. However, we're biased over here, as you can tell by these beautiful bioactive vivariums. We like real plants. The only issue is, if only I knew someone, a local e-commerce store, that would be able to sell you plants at an incredible price. Let's be honest with ourselves, boys and girls. The bear... I'm just messing with you guys. Real plants are awesome. I'll make a guide later on that talks about all of the good plants, or every good plant that you can use for gecko species such as the Crested Gecko. Personally over here, all the plants on our site are 100% animal safe. I'm sure for a lot of the other people it's also that case, but yeah, man, real plants are awesome. They're durable. You just got to get a little bit of a grow light, and you're kind of good to go. And personally for me, I think it looks a lot better than the marijuana fake plant. Oh, you're so cool. You have marijuana leaves in your gecko. And rounding down this list before we head on out of here, we're going to talk about number 5, just some little things I think will be great for the keeper when it comes to owning crested geckos. The thing I'm going to recommend is these bad boys right here, magnetic feeding ledges. These are absolutely awesome because these guys are messy eaters, and if you're not bioactive, so you don't have your cleanup crew trying to eat the crested gecko food that's going to turn to mold in your enclosure, you're going to have to be dealing with a mess pretty consistently. It's why I like these. I don't know where the other part of it is, but pretty much you just hit it with the glass and it has another magnet part, and then you feed the gecko out of it. It's not going to be able to spill any food because it's in this little thing. Usually you should get a bigger size. And man, oh man, are those things durable. They stick. Help you out a lot. I found that my geckos enjoy eating from the above area than the below area. I don't know why I explained it like that, but that's the truth. Something else that I find the geckos really enjoy are going to be the same guy that makes these are going to be these little gecko hides. I'll get some B-roll of it. I don't have anything on hand. They seem to actually adore those. Again, they're magnetic, so you can kind of put them anywhere on the edges. If you have a space that's a little bit bare and your plant isn't tall enough yet, throw a little gecko hide in there. Firehouse Geckos. Guy makes some absolutely awesome 3D printed stuff for crested geckos. Got it, boys and girls. Now you have the absolute perfect crested gecko enclosure for your new gecko pal. Or maybe you didn't listen to any of this and the thing looks like a hot mess. Who knows? In the comment section, did I miss something? Is there something you would have added in this video that your crested gecko absolutely loves? I would love to hear about it. Of course, if that wasn't enough stuff for you, check out the full crested gecko guide I made not too long ago right here, or an entire playlist of all of our crested gecko videos. There's like, I don't know, a billion. Maybe like 70, I don't remember. As always, thank you so much for taking the time of your day to follow us over here at Dakota Blue Exotics. I will see you guys next time, but until then, goodbye.